Good evening. I'd like to recognize that this event is happening on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh. Thank you to David Leonard and Walrus Talks for the inclusion of my voice in this very important discussion. My name is Cheryl Cardinal. I just joined the Office of the Minister of Natural Resources as the Director of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. Prior to holding this position, I was President and CEO of the Indigenous Center of Energy, which worked with Indigenous people globally. I was not asked to speak with you today about my current position, but rather my experience with Indigenous people. I am Cree and Coast Salish, and a citizen of the Suncor Cree Nation in Alberta. I'd like to take this time to recognize my family on this coast, as my grandparents were from Sartlip and Sanema. I am a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, and an aunt. And if you'll indulge me for a moment, please close your eyes. Picture yourself as a child looking at the world, or a parent looking at the wonder of the child in your arms. Remember what that felt like. What hopes and dreams do you have for that child, for their future? Now open your eyes. When we look at Indigenous people, when we look at Indigenous perspectives on energy, everyone would like to believe that there's only one perspective. It makes it easier to think that way. As Indigenous people, we have 634 First Nations across this country, approximately 500,000 Métis people with land bases in the province of Alberta, 53 Inuit communities representing 60,000 Inuit people. Our perspectives are as diverse as our people. We share a connection to our ancestors, to our culture, our languages, our traditions of our people, and our shared history. We have worked hard within our communities to create success for ourselves and for our nations. We can look at communities such as the Fort Mackay First Nation in Alberta, who are contributing to the greater Indigenous workforce, since creating opportunities for their nation, their members, and their businesses. They have recently signed an equity deal with Suncor Energy Tank Farm. They have diversified their business portfolio to be involved in a number of opportunities. The community of Souk on Vancouver Island has reached success with their focus on solar energy. The nation has taught about solar energy in their schools, so their next generation will know what is key to their community. We can focus on a number of partnerships with the energy sector where there have been increased opportunities for our people. What do all of these opportunities have in common? Each community has actively defined what success means to them. I was fortunate to spend time in Northern Canada, in the Sawtooth region, in the Northwest Territories, speaking to their communities about shale gas and hydraulic fracturing. Traveling with other First Nations to discuss and help the Sawtooth region understand how those communities came to the decisions in their respective communities. I visited Norman Wells, Delaney, Toledo, Fort Good Hope. We invited Colville Lake into the sessions. And I believe in accessibility of information, so I worked with translators to translate everything into Dene, their language. We spoke about opportunities and challenges to their proposed development. The youth were very engaged in the discussions, participating and asking key discussions. These conversations with the communities were not easy. The focus for these communities was envisioning their future, in moving their communities. Leadership actually, in one of our sessions, disagreed on what their vision was moving forward. To diffuse the situation, leadership got up and left the meeting. I remember kind of going to the translator and going, okay, the person that I'm supposed to speak to just left, so what do I do? Should I stop? Should I continue? What are the expectations of me in your community? And he looked at me and he told me, as long as those 9 elders wanted to ensure that the conversation continued, and as long as they sat there, It is your job and your responsibility here to continue those conversations. Now, I remember thinking, this is interesting. I'm not really sure how to proceed here, but let's go with it. They reminded everyone in attendance that they were the people of the Sahtu. And I remember thinking to myself how lucky I was in that moment to listen to the guidance of the elders. They also reminded the community that everyone had a relative in each of the other communities. So the focus for them must be on the benefits of the people of the Sahtu region, because they were all related. Each one of these communities had a different geographic location. Each one had relatives in each of the communities, and each approached the discussion to think about what was best for their people. Do we have successful communities? Successful people? Absolutely. I only highlighted 2. There are many across this country. What we also need to realize is we should be raising the bar for all of our people, all of our communities. As I started the discussion, I said that I was a mother. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old, girls. And when my oldest was 8, she decided she wanted to be a hydrogeologist. Like any great parent, I gave her a big hug, told her that was fantastic, and she skipped up the stairs. Immediately, I truly mean immediately, I pulled out my computer to find out what a hydrogeologist was. She decided that she wanted to focus on access to safe drinking water in First Nations communities. My mom reminds us every time that we go home that we must not drink the tap water, as she remembers being sick with E. coli. One of her concerns is she doesn't want her children or her grandchildren to get sick. What did this do to my family? It inspired action. It inspired a career path and understanding that she needed help to realize her dream. At 16, she's well on her way, and I'm a proud mom of both of my girls, and I reached out to my network for help. I focused on technical information to expand her knowledge, to be mentored by those who are working in the field, and opportunities for her to get hands-on experience in testing water. She realized what success looked like to her by understanding the issues. She can improve things for our people, for our community, and most importantly, her grandmother. We, as Indigenous people, need to dream. We need to envision and plan for our future. We should define what success looks like to us, remember the guidance and wisdom of our elders, and help youth envision the path forward. Thank you.